when one starts talking about history, one realizes that it's fraught with potential dangers. Number one, fuzzy memory. And in talking with different people, I see that we all have fuzzy memories, and the fuzzy memories don't always agree with each other. So, and the other fact, when you start wanting to talk about, or you start remembering what happened over the years, you realize that some of the funniest and most interesting stories you still can't tell in public. Like the time when computer terminals were in short supply, and one pre-doc allegedly hauled off and hit another pre-doc, and Alex and I had to serve as judge and jury arbitrating this discussion. Right. Yes, there were things we never imagined having to to deal with. So before ITAMP, there was TAMOC. And I certainly do remember that first meeting of TAMOC at the store's DEAP meeting in 1984 because, number one, the torrential rains. It was absolutely, I was sopping wet for the entire 3 days. And then the other was I had considerable trepidation because at that meeting I was taking over as Secretary-Treasurer of the Division of Electron and Atomic Physics from Pat Damer, a formidable person to fill her shoes, and so I was anticipating a huge amount of work. But I know I did attend the TAMOC meeting. In 1985, I had just had my fourth child, and so I brought him with me to the I think it was DAMOP then. It sort of had this transition between DEAP and DAMOP in Norman, Oklahoma. And he was, as I say, 3 months old, and I'm quite sure I attended the TAMOC meeting, but I have to say I really don't remember. I was probably sleep deprived. So it was really great to hear from Dick Pratt about a lot of the early history, because I don't remember too much from about 85 to 87, but as various proposals for the theoretical institutes at other institutions materialized over the next several years in response to the concerns about the shortage of AMO theorists, I remember encouraging Alex most enthusiastically to submit a proposal, because in a way, a proposal for an institute would formalize what actually already existed in our group, in the Theoretical Atomic and Molecular Physics group at Harvard-Smithsonian. We always had a large number of postdocs working on a number of projects, and also a constant stream of visitors, especially in the summer, many of whom were former students and postdocs and collaborators with Alex and all of us. So the original proposal was submitted, as Dick said, on the SAO side. Number one, because its overhead was a lot more favorable than the Harvard side, and we knew that the program funds were limited. And also, there was some interest on the part of Erwin Shapiro, the CFA director at the time, and I don't see him in the audience, so I'm free to say it, but who I think wanted to press the point a bit that SAO, there should be some precedent established for SAO receiving NSF funds. Well, ultimately, as you've heard from Dick, there was a problem, and we had a compromise, and the final decision was to propose half of the program on the Harvard side and the other half of the program, that is funding the visitors and the postdocs, on the Smithsonian side, which was run through our Office of Fellowships and Grants and didn't carry any overhead at all. So that really helped further the program funds available from NSF. And actually, we still continue to maintain that kind of split today, always trying to minimize the amount of overhead we're paying. Now, the purposes of the Institute, as stated in the first proposal, as Dick said, we're attracting and training the highest quality graduate students in atomic and molecular theory, maintaining an active visitors program to bring people together for varying lengths of time for scientific collaborations, and establishing a strong postdoctoral fellowship program. And the proposal, as we all have heard, was funded in November 1988, and Alex served as ITAMP's director for the critical first 5 years of ITAMP's existence. And I think that really established ITAMP on such a firm footing. A prominent goal in the first proposal was to be the appointment of this senior atomic and molecular theorist to an SAO-funded position with a professorial appointment in the Harvard Physics Department, and Alex had the unenviable task of organizing and chairing the search committee for this position, not being a member of the Harvard Physics faculty. And I think that was an amazing challenge. At the time also, there were very few AMO physicists in the Harvard Physics Department. Roy Glauber, Jerry Gabriels had only recently come, Frank Pipkin, and Tim Chupp, who was an assistant professor at the time, and Norman Ramsey had actually retired in '86. Well, we've heard that it was a lengthy process, and the first offer was declined, but the committee and Alex persisted, and I think this was really essential. And we were extremely fortunate to be able to hire Rick Heller from the University of Washington, who took over as planned as ITAMP director in the fall of '93, and immediately attracted a large number of grad students to his group from the Harvard Physics Department. And I really think there were a number of young people there thirsting for some atomic theory. So this was a wonderful event. Now I want to focus sort of on the evolution of ITAMP because it started 20 years ago, but it's definitely evolved, as of course AMO physics has also evolved. And I think its evolution has been quite remarkable, and many of its most positive aspects bear the thumbprint of its creator, Alex Delgarno. For instance, reflecting the breadth of research interest that's always been a prominent part of Alex's research portfolio and the Delgarno legacy, ITAMP prides itself on featuring a broad spectrum of research in its workshops and in bringing together diverse communities within and outside of AMO physics. And these communities have come from, of course, astrophysics, very naturally. In fact, we just had a very interesting workshop in March, Atomic and Molecular Physics of the Early Universe, where we brought cosmologists, astronomers, and AMO physicists together. Condensed matter physics, quantum information science, medical physics, nuclear physics, theoretical chemistry, mesoscopic physics, the list goes on, and it's really, I think, made the place very exciting, and I think has stimulated a lot of very interesting AMO physics throughout the years. ITAMP has always been about its people. We have had a succession of exceptional ITAMP-funded postdocs and ITAMP-associated postdocs, each contributing to the intellectual vitality of the Institute, starting with the first ITAMP postdoc, Jim Babb, who got his PhD with Larry Spruck and is now a research physicist at SAO and ITAMP scientist. Close to the same time, Hossein Sadapur came, and he is now also a research physicist at SAO, ITAMP scientist, and head of the visitor program at ITAMP. And Misha Lukin, who was an ITAMP postdoc in 1998 to 2001, when he was appointed to an assistant professorship in the Harvard Physics Department, and then subsequently, 3 years later, to a tenured full professorship at Harvard. And then it was stated by Barry, I think, that he was appointed co-director. In fact, we all asked Misha to become director of ITAMP, and because I had been director long enough, and he's a very busy person, and actually he said he would do it if I would co-direct it with him. So I felt that his involvement with ITAMP was essential, and so I reluctantly agreed to stay on, but in a co-director position. Our postdocs have gone on to take research and teaching positions at outstanding institutions, both academic and national lab situations around the world. So we have people, ITAMP postdocs at ETH in Zurich, University of Copenhagen, CNRS in France, Max Planck Institute in Dresden, University of British Columbia, University of the Negev in Israel, Los Alamos National Lab, Argonne National Lab, and adjunct professor at University of Chicago, University of Connecticut, Temple University, University of Montana, Gila, and the University of Colorado, University of Nevada, Las Vegas, University of Nevada, Reno, Kansas State University, Penn State University, and I'm sure I've actually missed some. So it's really impressive. And the wonderful thing about our ITAMP postdocs is that they come back and visit, and they organize workshops. And they've become a vital part of the AMO theory community, which Alex helped to establish. Now, I just wanted to show you a few more things about ITAMP's evolution, just to show you the ITAMP scientists and staff starting in 88 or 89. Brendan McLaughlin was hired as computer specialist, and we had an ITAMP administrative assistant, and Val Sorensen was division administrator. And now, today, the ITAMP scientists and staff, there are a number of us, and I won't read aloud all the names, but you can see we have a number of people who contribute to the intellectual vitality of ITAMP, and that doesn't even list our postdocs and students, etc. Now, the workshops were not a central part of our proposal in 88, and I don't know why I'm saying our proposal. In fact, it was Alex's proposal. He totally wrote it himself, no help from his colleagues. But so over the first 5 years, we had seven workshops, and I point out just a few of them here. The first workshop we ever had was on coupled cluster theory at the interface of atomic physics and quantum chemistry that was organized by Rod Bartlett and Das. Then another workshop, which I mentioned because Dick Pratt was involved in organizing it, was on emission and absorption of radiation by structured particles. And then we had a real first, I think the first meeting on cold atom or ultra cold atom physics here in the US, cold atom collisions workshop organized by Yehuda Band and Paul Julian in April of 1992, 3 years before the announcement of BEC in the laboratory. And then a workshop that was notable for a huge snowstorm, and also one of its organizers is here at the meeting, Franco Gianturco, the comparative study of current methodologies in electron molecule scattering. And I think we had a record snowstorm during the last day of the workshop. Yeah, you guys were both there. It was really 3 feet of snow. They banned driving in Cambridge, and I remember, slogging through the snow, offering people some meals at my house because nobody could get out. And how long did it take you, Barry, to get home? 3 days, yeah, after the workshop. Okay, well, it was impressive. So that, as I say, 7 workshops in the first 5 years, and now this is a list of our workshops just this year. And it doesn't even include a topical group that we're having in October on, let's see, what was it? Adiabatic quantum computing, October 6th to 17th. And I couldn't fit it on the slide. But the workshops, I think, have been an incredible success. And also a very good way of really featuring theory in conjunction with experiment. And I think that is tremendously to the benefit of theory and the opportunity for our experimentalist colleagues to appreciate the contributions theory makes in pushing forward understanding. So here are the ITAMP programs at this point. Barry mentioned the Joint Atomic Physics Colloquia, which have been going for the last 20 years now. And the Cambridge area AMO Physics Open Houses, which I think we started somewhere in the late 90s. And we've had periodically, sometimes in conjunction with the Center for Ultra Cold Atoms, sometimes in conjunction with the University of Connecticut. And then just recently, in April, we had a big one that brought together, the CUA, ITAMP, University of Connecticut, Yale, BU, and featured at least, 85 to 100 posters and 250 people. It was really spectacular because it was like a small DAMOP meeting. Anyway, so that's where I'll end and turn it over to Rick.